The easiest way to get a new job? Well, it's being referred into the opportunity. And the best way to be referred into the opportunity? Well, it's networking. And while most people know they should network, most people are not actively networking. And when they do, well, they're not doing it right. In today's video, I'm going to give you 11 mistakes people make when they network so you can avoid them and network better. Let's go. Now, outside of just getting a new job, networking is really important. It can help you gain access to opportunity, build relationships, fortify your future, etc. And quite frankly, so many roles that are filled aren't posted, but they happen through people's networks. But you never gain access to that if you're not effectively networking. The other thing about networking is kind of like putting on a seatbelt in a car. You need your seatbelt when you get into a crash, but it is too late to put on your seatbelt as you were getting into a crash. You need to do it beforehand. And that's just like networking. You need to network before you actually need the outcome of networking. All right, so let's get into the most common mistakes people make while they're networking. Well, the first thing is people overlook the importance of a strong LinkedIn profile. When you network with people, they're gonna go to your LinkedIn profile. I mean, LinkedIn is the king of social network for professionals. Mostly everyone is on there. Companies are on there. People are intentional about creating content on there. I even post a lot of my videos on there. So it's really important to have a great LinkedIn profile, professional picture, strong, summary on what you do, up to date, bullets on what you've accomplished at previous jobs, education, etc. Having a great LinkedIn profile is really important because when people meet you, when you network, if they don't see that right away, it's one of the first places they're going to go. The next mistake people make is they fail to clearly define their networking goals. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to accomplish? And over what timeline? So if you're thinking about getting into networking and you're like, okay, that's it. I'm going to network for real now. What I would do is I would write down some goals. How many people are you hoping to meet? Are there any industries you're trying to break into and build relationships in? Are there specific companies you want to network with? I would write down a handful of small goals and then be intentional about the time you invest in networking. Another mistake people make is they're way too transactional. They think, okay, network, extract value, network, extract value. It doesn't work like that. Networking is building relationships. It's like basically professional friendships, right? You're building relationships. You're connecting with people. Look, you can send out 1 million LinkedIn invites, but if you don't connect with people, if you don't meet with them, and if you don't build a relationship in which they actually care about potentially helping you in the future, it's not going to matter. So remember, don't be too transactional. Try to build actual relationships. Now, you can go to a networking event, right? And you can meet people, you can jump into conversation, you can do that awkward thing where you stand on the corner hoping to lock eyes with somebody and then walk over and have a conversation about whatever. But if you do all that and then you don't follow up, it's all for naught. So one of the things that you need to be really intentional about, and one of the mistakes you need to avoid, is avoid not following up after you do a network event, whether it's virtual or in person. If you connect with people, if you do any amount of networking, make sure you follow up. What's the easiest way to follow up? It's LinkedIn. So back to the first point of having a great LinkedIn profile. So the next thing you need to make sure you're doing is if you do any sort of event, make sure you're consistent and intentional with your follow-up. The next mistake people make is they don't leverage social media for opportunities, right? So when you're networking, what I mean by this is there are going to be jobs online. There's going to be companies online. There's groups online. Be intentional about leveraging those opportunities. Follow the companies that you're interested in on LinkedIn. Are there groups that are applicable to your geographic area, to your industry, to your field? Make sure you join those groups and then leverage those groups to gain access to opportunity. Comment in those groups, connect with people who are in those groups, set up networking sessions with different people in those groups or who work for those companies. Make sure you're intentional about leveraging the different opportunities that are available to you if you actually look for them. The next mistake people make is they're not genuine. At the end of the day, nobody wants to network with someone who is being completely fake, right? They're not being genuine. They're not connecting. They're not building that human connection. Make sure you do that. If you're able to make a list of goals, and you're able to start going after that, and you're able to start setting up these conversations where you're networking with people, don't fumble the ball at the 5-yard line by not actually being authentic, by not actually building relationships, by not connecting with people. Look, at the end of the day, people want to work with people they like, they want to buy from people they like, they want to connect with people they like. So make sure you're authentic and you try to make sure it's a little bit of a human connection while you're doing your networking. The next mistake people make, and this goes back to the very beginning of the video, is only networking when you need something. First of all, it doesn't work like that. If you need something tomorrow, networking today probably won't get you there. It's networking networking now for something that you might need down the road. So networking is one of those things that you always need to do. It's like if you were going to run a marathon, you wouldn't just train the day before. That's a bad plan. You'd be training up until that. You'd have a plan. You'd be consistently doing it. And then when it was time for you to cash in all the training you've done, well, you'd be ready. And the same goes for networking. You can't just do it because you need it now. You need it tomorrow. You need it 3 days from now. Networking is one of those things where you need to actually invest in it to see dividends in the future. A huge mistake is people don't nurture existing relationships. So you go to a networking event, right? You connect with people. You're authentic. Great. It's in industry, so you were smart about choosing what event you were going to go to. Awesome, right? You actually connect with people and then you follow up with them. Great. Is that it? No, well, it shouldn't be, right? Ideally, you are nurturing those relationships. You are checking in. Figure out what cadence makes sense for you, for that person, etc. But once a quarter, right? Maybe you shoot them a message. Maybe you go grab a coffee. Maybe you just check in with them. Maybe you jump on a Zoom. One of the things that you need to do when you're networking is you need to nurture your relationships. Otherwise, they will fade away. They will eventually just fizzle away and you won't have those, and all the things you did will be for naught. So this could be challenging, but calendars exist for a reason. In an Outlook calendar, you can set a reminder to follow up. You can open a spreadsheet. You can create in OneNote strictly around networking. But you have to be intentional, because if you don't have a plan, then it's probably not going to work. Lack of consistency. If you do all these things, but then you just stop, well, then you're only going to receive part of the benefit. Networking is one of those things you should always be doing. You should always be growing your network. I've heard the saying, your net worth is your network. And I don't agree with that. I think there are a lot of things that can be considered your net worth. And it's not just people you've connected with online. But your network is much more powerful when you're intentional, you're strategic, you're relational, and you're consistent. So you have to make sure you continue to follow up and continuing to build your network, because it can be powerful if you continue to stay at these habits. Now, one of the things that's going to help you be an effective networker is being more confident, which can be challenging, which is why I made this video here. This video here are steps to help you become more confident, because if you are more confident when you are networking, you're going to be more effective when you're networking. So I'm done here, but I'll see you over there.